let's go to the next one here, which is data-driven approach. Um, Salesforce sells by industry and vertical. So a lot of apps are horizontal apps. I was a horizontal app. Many of our customers at Advisory are horizontal apps. But I think it's really important as you're entering the ecosystem to kind of like make a more niche decision on where you're going to point your efforts. And a good way to do that is looking at your current customer base. So that can be a really helpful hint in terms of, 20% of my customers are in healthcare, whereas 40 are in financial services, or whatever that looks like. And that can be a really interesting guidepost for you to start to think about which industries we should start to focus on within the ecosystem. Even if you're horizontal, niche down, it is definitely the way to go. Allison, what would you add on this?
Yes, I think that is, I get the opportunity to work with both horizontal and industry focused partners. And it is extremely important not to boil the ocean, right? Figure
Mhm.
out where your wins have been, right? Where have you had great success and how can you replicate that story and take that to the Salesforce field teams and say, hey, let's rinse and repeat this. There is something in it for you and there's something in it for me. I think it's, as Sam mentioned, it's super important to solidify what your messaging is and grow that over time. I would say if you're seeing great success in fins, focus there and don't go try to dive into retail right away until you have a really strong point of view. Because once you create that point of view for that industry, you'll have a lot of success in it. But if you go at it just trying to touch every single industry that Salesforce works in today, you'll be very surface level and you won't get deep and our teams won't really understand the value of when to bring you in as a partner. Whereas if you can go super deep and create that point of view, you can become a trusted advisor in an industry that Salesforce might not work in today. Or maybe it's not an industry, but maybe it's an area of the business that's untapped. Because that's truthfully what the App Exchange is all about, right? It's finding a niche market that Salesforce might not be in today to help us expand our footprint. So create that story, create that narrative, share your win stories. And those will continue to grow and, leverage our teams to ride along with them. And, kind of one of the terms I like to use for the partners I work with is we have what we call co-primes, which we'll discuss in a little bit, but be the Salesforce co-prime for the product that you are selling into at that account. And that language lands really well with our teams because ultimately a co-prime is a specialist.
Absolutely. You said something really interesting there in terms of win stories, which I feel like those are a very underutilized tool within the ecosystem. So definitely Salesforce wants to see like what have you done in the past? What use cases? How is this going to benefit my customer? The other thing though that really happens with industries, and I've seen this happen, you guys, I went to market as a horizontal partner and I tried to boil the ocean and I fell flat on my face. So I'm telling you from experience, don't do that. Um, but as you start to kind of get ins with these industry sellers and SEs and whatnot, word spreads fast and it's going to start to create a flywheel. So once you have one great win with an AE, SE, it's going to offer you the opportunity to ask who else on your team has similar accounts. And instead of just like hopping from pockets to pockets of selling groups and industries, you can stay really focused and start to grow your ACV at a much more accelerated rate.
And I would even go further with the win stories. And when you create them, ask the client that you just won if you can go public with them, right? That's a
Mhm.
huge opportunity because I'm sure if there are folks that work with sales teams, when you're in a deal cycle, especially as you get higher up market, you often see for a newer company, customers and prospects asking for references. And so it gives you a step ahead to have already asked for that and have that reference. So it's not like you're just labeling high level what type of customer, but you actually have a customer story in your pocket and you have an advocate that you can leverage in your next deal.